Welcome back. A hallmark of news coverage in the post-9/11 era has been the global media's fixation on images of Muslims as extremist, angry, violent. That's what audiences tend to be fed, whether the Muslims being depicted are victims, aggressors, or both. However, now Islamic preachers are turning to electronic media, particularly television, to present a different image of themselves and their religion. The Listening Post's Salah Qadar now on the new generation of Islamic television preachers.
It's glossy, it's youthful, and it's highly packaged. Not exactly what you'd expect of religious broadcasting in the Middle East, but a new wave of TV preachers is taking young Muslim audiences by storm around the world.
When television was dominated entirely by government television stations, they reflected not just the government perspective on news, but they will also reflect the sort of establishment Islam.
In the last few years, we have seen an increasing kind of religiosity in the region. You just have to look at the political context and the political situation and the rise of groups, for example, the Muslim Brotherhood or Hamas, whoever it could be across the region. So we've seen anyway there is that increasing kind of religious nature of society, and that's reflected in the media, and particularly in TV.
The last 3-4 years, we've got a whole revolution in style, so to speak, with young dai, which is the word for preachers. They're not theologians, they're sort of popular preachers, but they have a very different style. They have a modern, contemporary style, and it's fascinating.
Television, especially the age of satellite, has ended the monopoly of governments over the communication of ideas. It has forced governments to compete with NGOs, with independent personalities, in giving religion a platform on television.
There are no fewer than 27 satellite channels in the Middle East dedicated to religious programming. That's up from just 5 2 years ago. Shows like The Right Way and The Call for Coexistence are aimed at young and educated audiences.
The rise in the number of people communicating religious ideas or religious messages from the TV screen is a natural expression of transformation within society itself. Arab societies, Muslim societies in general, have become more Islamic over the passage of times. And this is what people want to hear.
Dubbed by many as Muslim televangelism, comparisons have been drawn with television evangelists in the United States. But the approach is very different.
So much of televangelism in America is basically to tell people that it's okay with God to go out and make a lot of money. I mean, it's almost crassly materialistic. It's certainly not spiritual. Whereas when you watch these young preachers, they're either relating stories that connect with the prophets, stories that have a spiritual dimension, an ethical dimension. This is a very different phenomenon.
They are mostly interested in communicating an idea, in teaching, in enlightening. They don't usually represent lobbies. They're not interested in raising funds for a mosque or for a church, as in the American case. And I think they seek more clearly to influence social conduct.
Whether it be Amr Khalid, Mu'izz Mas'ud, or any of the other new faces that are developing such a cult following, their media productions are addressing a need in the Muslim youth the world over.
They are also very much an alternative to the extremist elements which have grabbed so much media attention, largely through videotapes that have been broadcast as news, through the internet, the extensive use of internet, through audio cassettes that are spread through the Arab world. And that extremism, while it does catch the ears of many young people, at the same time is rejected by still greater numbers of young people. But they didn't have anyone who could address an alternative vision of Islam.
They're modern, they see themselves as progressive, for example, even in appearances, they're dressed in nice suits, they're not scary. They don't shout when they speak, they're not seeking to intimidate the viewer, they're not seeking to scare the viewer. They're seeking to bring the viewer to their point of view. They're seeking, at the very least, to use those, it's almost like the Oprahification of kind of religious preaching, where it's a dialogue, it's not simply a sermon or a monologue.
I think the most successful religious discourse on television so far is one that relates to contemporary issues. And that is something which is unique to Islam, because Islam does not separate politics. There is no separation between state and religion. When there's something going on in Gaza and you don't mention it at all, when there is a disaster somewhere and you continue to act or to provide a show that is completely unaware of what's going on, you may then be losing your crowd.
Muazzam Masoud, for example, devoted a whole broadcast to a conference in Denmark seeking reconciliation and understanding between religions.
You wouldn't be here if you believed that nothing can be true and that there is something beautiful, one way or the other.
One in particular has himself a background in communications and advertising and public relations. Another one is a producer of television. So they're at home. These young preachers are at home in the same modernizing, globalizing Arab milieu, work milieu as their audience. And they meet a need.
In the past, a preacher or a cleric would preach to his flock when they came to the mosque on Friday, with kind of Friday prayers. Now he's able to take that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, globally, through the internet, through TV, through these kind of vehicles of mass media. They are able to communicate their message to a global audience.
More Global Village Voices now on religion and TV.
Satellite television has given tele-preachers a platform that was unimaginable in the past. Both Amr Khalid and Muazzam Masoud are a new breed of speakers on Islam that do not have religious authority, neither are from Al-Azhar, and probably would not have had this opportunity if it was not for such a medium. Interestingly, there are more and more of these type of tele-preachers on TV. There's a preacher for every person.
Amr Khalid has this capacity to convince his audience, which basically consists of young people who are not interested in the old-fashioned or kind of boring preachers, or the conservative ones, and there are loads everywhere. You can just find them everywhere. And definitely media plays a really, really important main role in delivering this message.
Finally, The Onion is one of the funniest news satires around. It started out as a US-based online newspaper, then added a web TV presence last year. Political satirists have been given lots of material to work with during the presidential election campaign, and The Onion's fictional take on American vote counters getting slightly ahead of themselves is our Internet Video of the Week. We'll see you next time with The Listening Post.
If you planned on following the presidential election in November, you might want to plug your ears. A big election spoiler is coming up. A minor software glitch at the Diebold Corporation today caused thousands of electronic voting machines to accidentally release the results of the 2008 presidential election months ahead of schedule. According to the group of military and corporate leaders that has chosen every American president since Eisenhower, Diebold's mistake marks the first time the nation's leader has been revealed prematurely.
I don't even know if I can enjoy the sham election now that I know who's going to win.
If you can't trust your shadowy overlords to keep it secret, what is the purpose, really, of voting in the puppet democracy?
I'm fine with it. I mean, he was going to get my meaningless vote anyway.
Despite the leak, all of the presidential candidates have so far said they'll continue their campaigns.
Hillary Clinton isn't about to give up just because she lost the election. She'll give up when she's supposed to on Election Day. And she'll act surprised.
Joining us now to talk about the leaked results is Diebold PR spokesman Ernie Kenilworth. Mr. Kenilworth, this was quite a mistake.
And we at Diebold would like to formally apologize to all of our shadowy puppet masters. This will not happen again. Please have mercy on us.
Do you think that people will still even vote in this election?
We certainly hope they will. This country is based on the fantasy that the government is the voice of the people.